Hi, today we're going to talk a little bit about the differences between the straight pen holder and the oblique pen holder. So a lot of people get confused because they see the straight pen holder and they think it would be easier to start with because it's not as complicated looking as the oblique holder with the flange and the pen sticking out, the nib sticking out at an odd angle. So people will pick up a straight holder and they will just attempt to start writing with it the way you would use a normal pen or pencil. And the truth is that it's still harder to write with it than a normal pen or pencil. So we're going to demonstrate how they both work and how you need to make them work and why the oblique pen holder is actually a little bit more easy for beginners to use when they're getting started. All right, let's start by talking about the straight pen holder. So we'll just put this one over to the side for the time being. So what happens with the straight pen holder? Most people who are looking to get started walk into a craft store like Michael's and they see this exact pen holder as part of a starter kit package. It doesn't include any instruction. It's usually the holder with maybe 3 or 4 nibs off to the side of the little packet. So you just pick it up because it's inexpensive and you think, oh, that looks easy. And you put your nib in and you think you're going to get started writing the way you would write with a pen or a pencil. So it looks like you would write like that, but it's actually different. So when you write with a normal pen or a pencil, you're usually holding your writing utensil with the point of it going over to the left side. And this type of pen won't work like that. If you're doing your upstroke and then you try to draw it downward, you won't be able to get your heavy line. So in pointed pen calligraphy, the tines have to separate in order to get the heavy line. So if it's pointed toward the left and you're pressing down, you're not going to be able to get the 2 tines to open up and separate so that heavy ink can flow out. The other thing is when you draw your nib upward, it has 2 tines, and if you pull it upward, it will pull the bottom tine up underneath the top tine, and then your 2 tines will be splayed out of position, and over time this will damage your pen holder. So you never actually want to hold your pen holder off to the left side. You always need to point it toward the upper edge of the paper. So when you're writing with pointed pen calligraphy with a straight pen holder, the nib has to point toward the top, and so you have to rotate your paper and get used to writing underneath your writing line. So my hand is always going to be directly underneath what I'm writing. So if I'm going to do some warm-up drill patterns, my nib is pointed straight to the top and I'm able to get that heavy line. So it takes a little bit of retraining your hand to write up and down with the nib pointed toward the upper edge, and it will take a little bit longer to get used to and therefore longer to improve. For that reason, we like the oblique pen for beginners. So let's look at this one. It has the gold piece called the flange sticking out the side, and that helps angle the nib up to get that angle that you need to get the heavy line. So again, you're never going to hold it to the side, and when you hold your hand underneath your writing line, it helps just angle that nib up so that you're writing in a more comfortable place. So when you dip in your nib, it's just easier to get that light up and heavy down stroke. So usually when you see people using a straight pen, it's not like it's a more intermediate style pen holder. You're not starting with an oblique and trying to work your way up to a straight pen. Usually people who use a straight pen are left-handed. Some left-handers find it easier to use a straight pen. Sometimes they're doing ornamental flourishing, which specifically does use a straight pen. Or they might be a self-taught calligrapher and they just didn't know this existed. When I started doing calligraphy, pointed pen calligraphy about 16 years ago, I didn't know that this pen existed. It was that exact scenario at Michael's. I walked in, I saw this, the package said calligraphy, and I just opened it up and started writing. I didn't know really what I was doing or why. So in recent years, I've actually switched over to the oblique pen, and it really makes it easier to get that heavy line. So the oblique pen is really beneficial for beginners when they're just getting started. It makes it a little bit easier so that you can focus on your actual practice and rather on how to get your pen to work, which, you know, there's a lot of moving parts with calligraphy. It gets a little bit confusing, and this is one less thing to think about. I hope this little demonstration sheds a bit of light on the differences between the oblique and the straight pen and why the oblique pen is just a little bit easier for beginners when they're getting started. If you're interested in the resources that we used in this video, make sure you check out the links below and make sure you always refer back to our blog. We update it weekly with more information and tips on calligraphy for beginners and beyond. Thank you.